topic for today will be all about intangible assets. So let me just write the title, no? So intangible assets. And in this video, we will use, of course, IAS or the International Accounting Standard number 38. We're good? So let's start by defining what is an intangible asset, no? So intangible asset is actually an identifiable, non-monetary asset without what? Without physical substance. Sir, anong ibig sabihin yan? Ang ibig lang naman sabihin yan is that this asset, even though, right, pag-aari siya ng kumpanya o ng company natin, see to it na hindi mo po siya nahahawakan, hindi mo siya nakikita, right? At hindi mo na-apply yung iba pang senses mo sa kanya. We're good? Another, or part of the definition, because hindi lang yan yung definition eh. According to paragraph 8 of IAS 38, aside from this, the asset must be what? The asset must be controlled by whom? By the entity, right? As a result of past event and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the entity. Very good. So that's the last part of the definition given by paragraph number 8 of IAS number 38. So ulitin lang natin, no? So intangible assets, these are identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. The asset must be controlled by the entity as a result of what? As a result of past event and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the entity. We're good? So from this definition, we can get three words, right? What are those three words? First is the word identifiable, second is the word controlled, and then the third one is the word future economic benefits. Actually, those three words is yung tinatawag natin na critical attributes of an intangible assets, right? So what are once again the critical attributes of an intangible asset? Number one is of course the word identifiable or identifiability. Very good? So identifiability, right? Nung ibig sabihin yan? Well, an item is actually identifiable when it is what? Letter A, separable. And then letter B, arises from what? Arises from contractual or other legal rights. Very good. Once again, an item or an intangible asset is considered to be identifiable when, number one, it is separable. Anong ibig sabihin ng separable? Well, ang ibig lang naman sabihin yan is kaya mo siyang mabenta without selling, right, the other assets in the company, without selling the whole company itself. So if you can sell that asset, no, without selling the other assets or the whole company itself, see to it that it is considered separable. Then the second requirement for it to become identifiable is that it must be, right, arising from contractual and other legal rights. So anong ibig sabihin yan? Well, ang ibig lang naman sabihin yan is that meron kang contractual or legal rights, right, for that asset. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Ang ibig sabihin nun, ikaw lang dapat ang may karapatan, either by a contra or through a contra or through legal matters, no? Let's say meron kang invention. You invented a phone, right, or any other gadget. So kapag meron kang invention, right, kailangan mo yung ipa-register sa patenting authority or sa Philippine Patenting Authority. Bakit? So that ikaw lang ang makapag-produce, ikaw lang ang makagamit, at ikaw lang ang makapagbenta, right, ng asset na yan. Nagigets mo ba? So if that will be the case, meron ka ngayong legal or contractual right kasi pinaregister mo yung asset eh. So kailangan, bago siya makonsider as identifiable, ikaw lang dapat yung may right, right? Either through contracts or through other legal matters, right? To what? to use, to manufacture, and to sell that asset. We're good? So that's the first critical attribute of an intangible asset. The second critical attribute is yung tinatawag natin na control, because sabi natin kanina, tatlo yan eh. Identifiable, controlled, and then future economic benefits, no? So, punta tayo sa control. Paano natin masasabi na meron tayong control? Well, we have control over the asset if we have the power to obtain what? To obtain benefits. Purahin ko lang. Benefits from the asset. Ibig sabihin, as I said a while ago, dapat ikaw lang yung may sole power to obtain benefits from that asset. Otherwise, if marami kayo, right, na pwedeng mag-manufacture ng asset na yan, eh hindi natin pwedeng masabing intangible asset yan. We good? Then number 3 will be what? Number 3 will be the future economic benefits. We good? So, sir, ano yung mga future economic benefits na yan? Well, nadidiscuss to simula cash, tama ba? Actually, lahat halos ng assets, including each discussion sa liabilities, ay nadidiscuss to eh. Right? Well, dito sa asset portion, future economic benefits, ito lang naman yung ating mga revenues, and hindi lang revenues of course. Pwede rin dito pumasok yung ating mga cost savings as long as meron tayong benefits na nakukuha from that asset, no? Ibig sabihin, the future economic benefits must flow to the entity. Ibig sabihin, meron dapat tayong ma-receive na revenue or dapat meron tayong ma-saved, right, by having that asset on our books. You with me? So, those are the 3 critical attributes of an intangible asset. Ngayon, punta tayo sa recognition of an intangible asset. Well, pagdating sa recognition, halos pare-pareho lang naman lahat ng assets, no? Pero yung recognition pagdating sa intangible asset, makikita mo yun sa paragraph 21. Anong nakalagay doon? First is that it is probable. Again, it is probable that what? That future economic benefits will what? Will flow to the entity. And then the second recognition criteria is that the cost of the asset can be what? Can be measured reliably. Right? So, ito actually yung rule or yung recognition criteria na tinatawag natin na probable and measurable. Ibig sabihin, before an item can be classified or can be recognized rather as an intangible asset, it must be probable and measurable. Meaning, it is probable that future economic benefits will flow to the entity. Then second, the cost of the asset can be measured reliably, no? So ngayon, punta tayo right dun sa paragraph 68. Jump tayo saglit sa paragraph number 68 because this is related, no, dito sa recognition, right? So nung sabi ni paragraph 68, sabi ni paragraph 68, if an intangible asset, no, if an intangible asset or item na lang kasi hindi pa siya asset eh. If an intangible item does not meet the definition of and the criteria, which is yung dalawang yan, right, for recognition of intangible asset, the item's expenditures is what? The item expenditures will be expense. Again, will be expense as incurred. Once again, yun yung sinasabi ni paragraph 68, no? If an intangible item does not meet the definition of and the criteria for recognition of an intangible asset, the item's expenditure will be expense as incurred. So, lagi mo yung tatandaan. Pero, syempre, meron tayong exemption to the general rule. So, meron ditong exemption, no? So, sir, ano yung exemption dito? Well, exemption dito is yung makikita mo, no, sa provision ng IFRS 3 and paragraph number 35. IFRS 3, by the way, will be discussed on your advanced accounting courses, no? Because that's the standard pertaining to business combination. So, here, as an exemption to the general rule, see to it that if the item, again, if the item is acquired, again, if the item is acquired in a business combination, even though hindi po siya nagko-comply dun sa definition of an intangible asset, or even though hindi siya pasok sa mga criteria na to, that item will be recognized as an intangible asset. So, anong example ng mga yun? Well, example will be the customer's list, no? So, customer list, hindi siya pasok dun sa identifiable. Bakit? Because customer list is not separable. Sir, paano ka nakakasigurado dun? Paano mo nasabi yun? Because even though mag-maintain ka ng listahan ng mga customers mo, you cannot sell it separately. Meaning, hindi siya separable eh. Kasi kahit na ibenta ni Jollibee yung listahan ng mga customers niya kay McDo, hindi pa rin yun magagamit ni McDo. Why? Kasi hindi mapipilit ni McDo and neither ni Jollibee na bumili yung mga customer na yun kay McDo. That's why customer list, as a general rule, is not an intangible asset kasi hindi siya pasok dun sa critical attributes or dun sa definition of an intangible asset. You with me? But as an exemption to the general rule, if this item is acquired in a business combination, ano ba yung business combination, sir? Kapag sinabi nating business combination, bibili natin yung buong business. You with me? Example neto is si Mang Inasal nung nabili siya ni Jollibee. Kasi as we all know, Mang Inasal is actually acquired by Jollibee. So kapag si Mang Inasal meron siyang customers list, see to it that this customers list will be recognized by Jollibee even though hindi siya separable. Bakit? Kasi si Jollibee binili niya yung buong kumpanya. Right? Since si Jollibee binili niya yung buong Mang Inasal, see to it now that Jollibee can recognize what? Can recognize that customer list as an intangible asset or as an asset. So that's the exemption to the general rule if the item is acquired in a business combination. Nagkakaintindihan po ba tayo doon? Right. So ngayon, punta tayo sa initial measurement, no? So what's the initial measurement of an intangible asset? Well, pag gusto mong hanapin kung saan sa standard mo makikita kung paano yung measure yung intangible asset, bisitahin mo lang naman si paragraph 24. Anong sabi ni paragraph 24? Well, according to paragraph number 24, initial measurement will only be equal to cost. You with me? Then, kapag sinabi natin cost, this will depend on the acquisition because we have so many items or so many ways on how to acquire an intangible asset. You with me? Pero meron tayong mga items, right? Once again, meron po tayong mga items that are not part of cost. Ibig sabihin, these items, if hindi sila part ng cost, these are what? These are actually expense as incurred. You with me? So, kailangan mong bantayan itong mga items na to kasi hindi sila pwedeng isama dun sa initial measurement of an intangible asset. Okay ba tayo dun? So, ano yung walong to? Walo lang to eh. Number 1 is the cost of what? Cost of introducing. Once again, cost of introducing a new product or service. So, any cost incurred in introducing a new product or service will be expenses incurred because pasok yan sa advertising expense eh. Number 2, related lang to sa number 1 eh. Ano yung number 2? Cost of advertising and promotional activities. Obvious naman, no? Right? Cost of advertising and promotional activities are still part of the total expenses. This is actually part, or these are part of what? Of the total selling expenses of the company. Next, punta tayo sa number 3. Number 3 is the cost of what? It is the cost of conducting business in a new location, which is normally yung tinatawag natin na organizational cost or startup cost. Once again, this is also known as the organizational cost or startup cost. On any organizational cost or startup cost are obviously expenses incurred. With me? Number 4 will be the cost of staff training. So any cost of staff training incurred will also be expense as incurred. Right? Number 5 will be the administrative cost. So any cost incurred, no? Administrative cost. So any cost incurred in the office, right? See to it will be expenses incurred pa din. Number 6 will be the initial operating losses. Obvious din to, no? Kahit sa PPE, these costs are actually expenses incurred. Number 7 will be the pre-operating cost. So, any pre-operating cost will also be expenses incurred. Hindi po sila kinakapitalize as part of the cost of the intangible asset. And last but not the least, which is i-discuss natin later, no, is yung tinatawag natin na research and what? This is what we call the research and development. So, these are the 8 items that are not actually part of cost, but these items are actually expense as incurred. Next, punta tayo sa acquisition of an intangible asset, no? Because as I said a while ago, we have so many ways on how to acquire an intangible asset. So, acquisition of intangible assets. We're good? So, first is yung tinatawag natin na separate acquisition, no? Ibig sabihin, we acquired an intangible asset at yun lang yung ating in-acquires. Kaya ko siya tinawag na separate acquisition. So, if we will be acquiring, right, an intangible asset separately, see to it na yung cost niya will only consist of 3 things. Ano yung tatlong bagay na yan? Actually, ito yung 4 elements of cost natin sa property, plant, and equipment. Tanggalin mo lang, right, yung dulo, which is yung dismantling cost, because wala ngang physical substance yung asset natin this time, so you don't have to dismantle the asset, no? So, ano ba yung tatlong elements of cost? Kasi tinanggal natin yung dismantling. Una is yung tinatawag natin na purchase price, but of course, net of discounts, no? Whether cash discounts man yan or trade discounts. Sir, paano pag not taken yung cash discount? See to it that any cash discounts will be deducted whether taken or not. Again, parang PPE lang po yan. The discounts, whether trade or cash, are deducted or excluded from the computation because these discounts are or must be deducted whether the discount are actually taken or not. We good? So, wag ka magpapalito, no? Kahit na sinabi ng problem na beyond the discount period tayo nagbayad, bawas mo pa rin yun sa total intangible asset or cost of intangible asset. Pangalawa is yung tinatawag natin na directly attributable cost. So, obvious naman, no? Directly attributable cost, these are the necessary costs in order to bring the asset to its proper condition and location. Sir, akala ko ba without physical substance yan? Yes, tama ka. But still, kung invention yan, right, yung intangible asset natin will be the patent, no? But, see to it, na since invention yan, nagpo-produce pa rin yan ng cellphone or ng products or any other product, not just cellphone, no? So, any costs incurred that are directly attributable to the acquisition will be capitalized, no? Then, last will be the import duties and what? Import duties and irrecoverable purchase taxes. So, kapag sinabi nating import duties, ito lang naman yung mga taxes na binabayaran mo once na nag-i-import ka. Irrecoverable purchase taxes naman, from the word itself, no? Irrecoverable, meaning dapat non-refundable. Ibig sabihin lang yan, kapag may kasamang VAT, yung purchase price natin, tanggalin mo yun because VAT is an example of a refundable or recoverable tax because we are actually, or we can, right, offset the input VAT against the output VAT. That is why VAT is considered refundable. So, VAT is not included in our computation. So, kapag inclusive of VAT yung purchase price, i-divide mo lang yun by 1.12. Sir, bakit? Kasi VAT or value added tax as per the tax code is equal to 12%. You with me? So, number 2, the second way on how to acquire an intangible asset is actually the acquisition as part of what? Acquisition as part of a business combination. Ito yung sabi ko kanina eh. Ano nga ulit yung business combination? Business combination is actually the acquisition of a business. Ibig sabihin, buong business ang binibili natin dito. Ibig sabihin, kung bibilin mo yung buong business, bibilin mo lahat ng kanyang asset as well as yung kanyang mga liabilities. So, if that will be the case, cost is actually equal to what? Cost is equal to the fair value of the asset. Again, fair value of the asset at what? At the acquisition date or on the date of acquisition. So, kung magkano man yung fair value nung patent nung trademark or kung anumang intangible asset nun on the date of acquisition, that is considered to be the cost of that asset or that intangible asset. No? Next, punta tayo sa number 3. What's the third one? The third one is actually the acquisition by way of what? By way of deferred payment. So, sir, anong ibig sabihin ng acquisition by way of deferred payment? Well, ang ibig lang naman sabihin yan is bumili tayo ng intangible asset kaso hindi tayo nagbayad ng cash, inuutang natin yung intangible asset. So, if that's the case, cost is actually equal to the following in the order of priority. So, sir, anong ibig sabihin ng in the order of priority? Well, madali lang yan, gaya ng ginagawa mo madalas. So, if dalawa sila, papansinin mo lang si number 1, number 2 rather, papansinin mo lang si number 2 or gagamitin mo lang si number 2 if and only if si number 1 is hindi present. Ibig sabihin, if present po si number 1 yung ating i-consider. Si number 1 yung priority natin. So, papansinin mo lang or magiging priority mo lang no, si number 2 if and only if yung number 1 mo is hindi present. Liwanag ba? Sir, paano pag pareho silang present? Pag pareho silang present, si number 1 pa rin po ang ating ipaprioritize. Nagkakaintindihan ba? So, number 1 will be the cash price equivalent. Sir, bakit cash price equivalent? Because obviously, iba ang presyo ng bilihin kapag binayaran mo yan ng cash compare sa inutang mo yan, no? Let's say, bahay na lang or kaya kotse, no? Pag bumili ka ng kotse, see to it na yung presyo ng kotse na yan or ng cellphone na yan or ng bahay na yan is iba kapag binayaran mo siya ng cash compared if uutangin mo yan. And mas totoo, right, yung cash price equivalent. Why? Kasi kapag inutang mo yan, yung total payments mo, may kasama na po yung interest. Nagigets mo ba? That is why if we acquired an intangible asset by way of a deferred payment, first in our priority will still be the cash price equivalent. Then second will be what? Second will be the present value of the liability. Not the face amount, present value po tayo of the liability. Sir, how to compute present value? And then, pagkakaalala ko, tatlo po yan eh. Present value factor of 1, present value factor of ordinary, annuity of 1, and then present value factor of annuity of 1. Well, tama ka naman doon, tatlo yan. Sir, anong gagamitin ko sa tatlo at paano sila ko computein? If gusto mong malaman kung anong gagamitin mo sa tatlo, or kung paano po sila kino-compute, refer ka na lang dun sa other video natin sa channel na to. May title po yun na time value of money and present value computation because diniscuss ko doon kung kailan ginagamit at kung paano kino-compute yung tatlong klase ng present value factors natin. Liwanag? Then one last thing before natin iwan itong number 3 na to, no? One last thing is that the cost or difference between the cost minus the face amount. Unahin ko yung face amount, no? So, face amount of the liability minus the cost, whether cash price equivalent man yan or present value, is actually equal to the unearned interest income. Again, ito yung tinatawag natin na unearned interest income. Sir, ano yung unearned interest income na yan? Well, this unearned interest income is the total interest income na ina-expect nating ma-earn all throughout, right, the life of the liability. Nagigets? So, time by time, nagre-recognize po tayo ng not unearned interest income. Pardon me. Right? This must be the unearned interest expense or, right, what? Liability pala, kaya hindi income. Or, yung tinatawag natin na discount on notes payable. Mas madalas lang na ginagamit itong discount na to. Right? Pero pareho lang sila. Don't get it wrong. Now, punta tayo sa number 4, no? Number 4 is the acquisition by way of exchange. Acquisition by way of exchange. So, sir, anong meron if meron tayong acquisition by way of exchange? Well, kapag sinabi nating exchange, well, this is the other term for barter. Ibig sabihin, palit tayo, yun lang yun. Right? So, mag-acquire ka or pwede ka mag-acquire ng PPE or ng intangible asset, right, by way of exchange. So, if we acquired an asset by way of exchange, may dalawang senaryo. Sir, ano yung dalawang senaryo? Tingnan mo muna, no? First is that the exchange has commercial substance. Again, first is that the exchange has commercial substance. Panag. And then, yung pangalawa is kapag yung exchange lacks commercial substance, no? Sir, ano po ba yung commercial substance na yan? Well, commercial substance or the exchange is considered to be with commercial substance if and only if after the exchange, the expected future cash flows, right, from these assets that will be generated by the company, no, will significantly change. Meaning after the exchange, nagbago po significantly yung expected benefits or future economic benefits na inaasahan natin from the continuing use of that asset. Nagigets? So here, if the exchange has commercial substance, cost is actually equal to the following in the order of priority. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo ulit pwedeng gamitin si number 2 unless number 1 is not available. Hindi mo rin magagamit po si number 3 if number 1 or number 2 is available in the problem, no? So number 1 will be the fair value of the asset given up. Again, number 1 will be the fair value of asset given up. Number 2 will be the fair value of asset received, pero gagamitin mo lang to if and only if fair value of asset given up is not available. Then if parehong hindi available yung dalawang fair value, we don't have any choice but to use the carrying amount of asset given up. Nagigets? And if I'm not mistaken, na-discuss na to sa property, plant, and equipment nyo. Tama ba? Then if the exchange has commercial substance, kailangan mo pang mag-compute ng gain or loss on exchange. Right? So please refer sa PPE discussion natin soon, right, na i-upload sa channel na to pagdating sa computation ng gain or loss on exchange. Next, punta tayo sa exchange lacks commercial substance. No? If the exchange lacks commercial substance, madali lang to. Sir, what do you mean madali? Because here, cost is only equal to the carrying amount of asset given up. Ibig sabihin, wala kang pinagpipilian dito. Wala kang kinoconsider na tatlong measurement. Always carrying amount lang of the asset given up ang ating magiging initial measurement or considered to be the cost of the intangible asset. Wanag? Now, punta tayo sa number 5. Number 5 is actually the acquisition by government grant. Again, meron tayong tinatawag na acquisition by government grant. Right? Well, anong example niyan, sir? Example niyan will be the licenses. Right? At ano yung famous example ng licenses? Well, of course, ABS-CBN po yan. Because hindi po yan nabibili. Tama ba? Hindi nabibili yung mga lisensyang yan. Ibig sabihin, yung gobyerno lang ang kayang mag-provide or magbigay niyan sa atin. That is why this is number 5 is the acquisition by way of a government grant. So, sir, if we acquired an intangible asset by way of a government grant, ano po yung magiging cost natin? Well, cost will be equal to the fair value or 0, right, kung ano man yung given sa problem, plus the directly attributable cost. Attributable cost. Sir, bakit naman 0? 0 because normally wala yung value kasi hindi mo naman binayaran. Pero if may fair value na given sa problem, yun yung gagamitin po natin. So that's the 5th acquisition. Then last but not the least will be acquisition number 6. Ano yung acquisition number 6? Acquisition number 6 is yung tinatawag po natin na acquisition by internal generation. So meron tayong tinatawag na internally generated intangible asset, no? So here, cost will be equal to what? Cost will be equal to the directly attributable cost lang. Liwanag, kasi hindi naman tayo bumibili dito Nag-generate tayo internally ng intangible asset. Nagigets? So, sir, nung kasama sa directly attributable cost? Well, unang kasama dyan will be the material, labor, and overhead that is actually consumed in generating the intangible asset. Liwanag. Self-explanatory yan. No need for an explanation. Tama ba? Pangalawa is yung tinatawag natin na fees to register what? Fees to register a legal right. Ibig sabihin, kung patent man yan, kailangan mong what? Kailangan mong i-capitalize yung fees na binayad mo sa Philippine Patenting Authority. Liwanag. Sabi mga kasama dito. Kasama din dito yung amortization of what? Amortization of other intangible assets that are what? That are used to generate the intangible asset. So, just in case gumamit ka pa ng ibang intangible asset just to generate this particular intangible asset, any amortization expense will be capitalized as well. Aliwanag? Pero dito, meron tayong exemption to the general rule. Sir, anong ibig mong sabihin sa exemption to the general rule? Well, ang ibig ko lang sabihin dito, these items na sasabihin ko, right, are actually not identifiable. Ibig sabihin, if hindi po sila identifiable, these are not recognized as an asset. Nagigets ba? Because as per the definition, one of the critical attributes of an intangible asset is dapat identifiable yan. Liwanag. Pero wag mong kakalimutan, once again, yung exemption to the general rule natin. Kasi kanina, sabi ko may exemption to the general rule. Balikan natin yun, no? So, dito, nasan yun? Ito, sabi ni paragraph 68, if an intangible asset does not meet the definition of and the criteria for recognition of an intangible asset, the item's expenditure will be expenses incurred. Pero exemption is if this asset is acquired in a business combination. Liwanag? Ibig sabihin, if that item is acquired in a business combination, pwede pa rin po siyang i-recognize. Pero if hindi naman siya nabili through business combination, meaning internally generated nga siya, ibig sabihin, we generated this internally, see to it na hindi po yan nire-recognize as an asset. So, ano yung mga example niyan? Example will be the brands. Ano pa? Mastheads. So, ano yung mastheads na yan? Madalas, nababasa ko yun, pero hindi ko alam kung ano yun eh. Well, mastheads, yan lang naman yung name ng newspaper. Ibig sabihin, Manila Bulletin. Right? Ano pa? Philippine Daily Inquirer. So, yung name ng newspaper na yun, yun yung tinatawag po nating mastheads. Next will be the publishing titles. Ano pa? Customers, list. Right? Gaya ng nasabi natin kanina, kahit na meron kang ganyan, hindi po yan intangible asset kasi internally generated. Then last but not the least will be goodwill. So, hindi po pwede na i-recognize ang isang internally generated goodwill. Sir, bakit? Because as per IFRS number 3, which is business combination, goodwill can only be recognized if it came from a business combination. Again, goodwill can only be recognized if it came from a business combination. Internally generated goodwill cannot be recognized as an asset. Nagigets ba? Right? Ngayon, punta po tayo sa subsequent measurement of intangible asset kasi tapos na nating i-discuss yung initial measurement Initial measurement, once again, is cost, and cost is nakadepende kung papaano mo siya in-acquire. Nagigets? So, punta tayo dito sa subsequent measurement of an intangible asset. Nagigets? So, subsequent measurement of an intangible asset may depend sa dalawang model, no? So, dito meron tayong dalawang model na pwedeng gamitin. So, ano yung dalawang model na yan? Number 1 is yung tinatawag po natin na cost model. And then, number 2 will be what? Number 2 will be the revaluation model. Sir, parang PPE lang pala, may cost model and revaluation model. Yes, tama ka doon. Ano ba? So, dito, yung choice is na kay company. Once again, the choice is given to the entity. It's just that, kapag pinili mo si revaluation model on one asset, you must apply that model in the whole class of that asset. Ibig sabihin, if one of your patent is measured or subsequently measured under the revaluation model, lahat na ng patent mo naka-revaluation model. Hindi pwede na pa isa-isang asset lang. Dapat per class tayo mamili. Nagigets? So, kapag cost model tayo, as we all know, subsequent measurement or the carrying amount is equal to cost minus accumulated amortization because hindi na to subject sa depreciation. Subject na po siya sa amortization. So, cost minus accumulated amortization and then minus accumulated impairment losses. So, wala siyang pinagkaiba sa PPE. It's just that sa PPE, depreciation ang term natin. Dito sa intangible asset, amortization naman tayo. So, i-discuss ko itong amortization at itong accumulated impairment losses later on. Liwanag? Now, sa revaluation model, ano ang ating magiging? Once again, ano yung magiging ating carrying amount or subsequent measurement? Well, this is equal to the revalued amount Whether fair value man yan or the depreciated replacement cost, no? Sorry, valued amount minus the subsequent accumulated amortization and then minus the subsequent accumulated impairment losses. So, wala pa rin talaga siyang pinagkaiba sa revaluation model ng property, plant, and equipment. Then, one last thing, before natin to iwan, revaluation model can only be used, once again, can only be used if there is what? There is an active market. Again, if there is an active market for the asset. Otherwise, if there is no active market for that intangible asset, we don't have any choice but to use the cost model. Nagkakaintindihan pa po ba tayo? Hopefully, we're still good, no? Next, punta tayo sa amortization. Again, let's now move on to the amortization of what? Amortization of an intangible asset. Diba? So, sir, anong ibig sabihin ng amortization? Well, amortization parang depreciation lang yan. It's just that amortization is actually the proper allocation of the amortizable amount of an intangible asset over its useful life. Pero dito, sa intangible asset, normally, after the life of the intangible asset, hindi mo na yun nabibenta pa eh. Ibig sabihin, here in intangible asset, residual value is assumed to be zero unless may residual value na given sa problem kasi kaya mo pa siyang ibenta at the end of useful life. But normally, hindi mo na yun nabibenta pa. Not unlike PPE, wherein isang car, kapag nagamit mo na yan over its 5 years useful life, may residual value pa yan kasi pwede mo pa yung ibenta. Kasi, right, pwede mo pa yung ipa-what? Pwede mo pa yung anong tawag dito? Ipa-junk shop or what? Pero ang intangible asset, no physical substance po ito. Meaning, normally, wala po tayong naibebenta. Therefore, normally, walang residual value, no? So, how to amortize an intangible asset? Well, tignan mo muna or alamin mo muna, no? Kung anong klaseng intangible asset ba yan. Kasi meron tayong dalawang klase ng intangible asset, eh. So, ano yung dalawang klase? Meron tayong tinatawag na finite life intangible asset. At kapag may finite, meron din tayong tinatawag na finite, right? Tama ba? Once again, kung may finite, meron tayong indefinite. Kidding aside, indefinite po yan, right? So, may finite life, intangible asset, meron tayong indefinite life, intangible asset. Hopefully, nagets mo yung joke ko, no? So, kapag sinabi nating finite yung life ng intangible asset, ibig sabihin yan, may hangganan yung buhay ng intangible asset natin, no? So, if that will be the case, we should amortize. Again, we should amortize the asset over their what? Over their useful life or legal life, whichever is what? Whichever is shorter. Again, whichever is shorter. If the asset, once again, has a finite life, meaning may hangganan ng buhay niya, the amortization will be over their useful life or legal life, whichever is shorter. Unless, once again, unless legal life can be what? Can be renewed. Ibig sabihin, if renewable, again, if renewable yung legal life ng intangible asset natin, well, hindi natin susundin yan. Anong susundin natin? Ang susundin natin will be their useful life. Nagigets ba? Pero if hindi pwedeng i-renew yung useful life, no, or yung legal life, should I say, see to it na whichever is shorter po tayo. So, on our next video, we will discuss the specific, no, intangible assets wherein di-discuss natin yung kanya-kanyang legal life nila. But for now, in general muna tayo. So, general muna tayo. Diba? Next, anong method ang gagamitin natin sa amortization? Well, the method, as we all know, will be the straight line method, diminishing balance method, or what? Or the output method. Pero kapag silent ang problem, straight line method po tayo. Once again, if the problem is silent, straight line method po tayo. Now, punta tayo sa indefinite life intangible asset. So, kapag sinabi natin indefinite yung life ng isang intangible asset, obvious naman, no, walang hangganan yung buhay niya. Ibig sabihin, it can be renewed perpetually, for example, or, right, wala talagang hangganan yung life niya. Liwanag ba? So, if indefinite yung life ng intangible asset natin, obvious naman, no? Hindi po siya ina-amortize. So, this is not subject to amortization. Nagkakaintindihan po tayo. So, only those intangible asset that has finite life or have finite life can be amortized. But if these intangible asset have indefinite life, hindi mo sila pwedeng i-amortize. Ano ba? Then last but not the least, before tayo pumunta sa mga problems, no, will be the impairment. So, punta tayo sa impairment of intangible asset. Actually here, gagamitin pa rin natin si IAS number 36 because non-financial asset or non-monetary asset si intangible asset. So, pasok siya, right, sa IAS number 36. Kakaintindihan ba tayo? So, konting review lang, no? Under IAS 36, we should compare what? We should compare the carrying amount and what? And the recoverable amount of an asset. Again, carrying amount versus recoverable amount lang naman tayo. Liwanag ba? So, carrying amount, if lower, well, not impaired yung asset natin. Hindi po siya considered impaired. Why? Because according to IAS 36, we cannot present an asset in the balance sheet or statement of financial position at above their recoverable amount. Pero walang sinasabing standard na hindi mo rin siyang pwedeng i-present at below its recoverable amount. So, if mas mababa yung carrying amount, walang problema, not impaired po yung asset. But, if the carrying amount is higher, violation na yan because hindi nga tayong pwedeng lumagpas sa recoverable amount, no? So, if that will be the case, the asset is what? The asset is considered impaired. Nagkakaintindihan ba tayo? We're on that? So, let's talk about recoverable amount, no? So, what is recoverable amount? So, anong kasama dito? As we all know, recoverable amount is actually the higher. Again, this is the higher between what? Higher between the fair value less cost to sell or what we call the value in use. Right? So, kailangan mong malaman kung magkano yung dalawang yan because whichever is higher between the two will be the recoverable amount. Fair value less cost to sell, wala tayong problema dyan. Just deduct the cost of disposal from the fair value and then that's it. Pero sa value in use, ano ba yung value in use? Value in use is actually the present value of what? Present value of future expected cash flows from the continuing use of the asset, no? Ibig sabihin, kailangan mong mag-compute ng present value dito. So, sir, paano yun? Isn't it sa present value computation, kailangan ng present value factor? Yes, tama ka doon. And, for you to know kung anong present value factor ang gagamitin, nood ka ulit dun sa present value computation and time value of money, which is nasa channel rin po na to. So, bisitahin mo lang yung mga videos sa atin sa channel na to, makikita mo doon kung, right, papaano mag-compute at kung kailan gagamitin yung bawat present value factor po natin. Diba? Ba? So, value in use computation, alamin mo muna kung finite life ba yan or indefinite life. Because kapag finite po yung life ng intangible asset natin, value in use will just be equal to the present value factor times the future cash flows. Diba? Ba? Sir, paano kapag indefinite yung life ng intangible asset natin? Well, kapag indefinite yung life ng intangible asset natin, hindi ka pwedeng mag-compute ng present value factor kasi kailangan mong malaman nilang period eh. So, kapag indefinite, alangan naman na forever ka na lang na pumipindot ng equal sign or M plus sign. Tama ba? So, kapag indefinite yung life, see to it na value in use will be equal to what? Will be equal to the future cash flows. Again, this will be equal to the future cash flows divided by what? Divided by the discount rate. So, ganun lang yung kadali, no? I-divide mo na lang yung future cash flow sa discount rate at yun na yung i-consider natin na value in use. May good? Then, before natin to iwan, every kailan po natin tinitest for impairment yung mga intangible asset? Well, alamin mo muna ulit kung finite ba yung life niyan or indefinite, no? Because if finite yung life ng intangible asset natin, ititest lang natin yan for impairment kapag may indication. Again, kapag may indication. Pero kapag indefinite yung life ng intangible asset natin, kailangan natin yung i-test for impairment at least annually. Ibig sabihin, dapat annually, tinitest natin yan for impairment. Are we good? Then last but not the least, will be about subsequent expenditures. So, subsequent expenditures. So, sir, ano yung mga subsequent expenditures na yan? Well, these are actually the cost incurred subsequent to the initial recognition. So, lahat ng nagastos natin after we recognize an intangible asset. So, sir, ano yung mga anong treatment ng mga yan? Well, as a general rule, once again, as a general rule, these are actually what? These are actually expensed as incurred. Ang ibig sabihin yan, if meron tayong na-incur na cost, let's say this is a litigation cost, no? Ibig sabihin, meron tayong invention. And then sabi, right, ng isang supplier na to or ng isang competitor na to, hindi nauna kami dyan eh. So, nagkaroon ngayon ng demandahan, no? So, nung nagkaroon ng demandahan, of course, mag-hire ka ng lawyer mo, parang Annalise Keating lang, tama ba? Right? Then apparently, babayaran mo si Annalise Keating kasi pagtatanggol ka niya sa korte. So, nung mangyayari ngayon, syempre, dahil binayaran mo siya, nag-incur ka ng additional cost but after the recognition of the asset, no? So here, any cost incurred subsequent to the initial recognition, as I said a while ago, as a general rule, will be expenses incurred. Sir, whether successful or unsuccessful ba yan? Yes, tama ka dun. Whether the litigation is successful or unsuccessful, the litigation cost will be treated as an expense. Are we good? Pero dito, meron tayong tinatawag na exception to the general rule. So, sir, ano yung exemption to the general rule natin? Well, exemption to the general rule is that kapag yung subsequent expenditure na yun, ine-enhance niya once again if the subsequent expenditure enhances the future economic benefits of the intangible asset. See to it na this time ika-capitalize na natin yan. But this exception is just rare, no? Normally, all subsequent expenditures are just expense as incurred. So, specifically, dapat sabihin ng problem na what? Na dapat ine-enhance niya yung future economic benefits ng intangible asset natin. We're good? So, that's all the things you have to know here about intangible assets in general muna because as I said a while ago, topics regarding or relating to specific intangible assets, let's say, patents, franchise, copyrights, computer software, research and development will be discussed in another video, no? So, before natin tapusin itong video na to, let's try to apply muna itong mga topics or concepts na discuss natin dito sa mga problems na pinrepare ko. So, we'll start with illustrative problem number 1. So, here in illustrative problem number 1, Pepper Company purchased from Iker Company an intangible asset for $10,000. A 5% discount is available on the purchase. Anong usapan natin about cash discount? Well, whether trade or cash discount yan, these discounts are deducted from the total cost whether these discounts are taken or not. Maliwanag ba? So, dito, hindi mahalaga whether this discount is actually taken or not. I-deduct natin yan. We good? Then, on acquisition date, the exchange rate was 46:1. Then, installation and testing cost amounting to 25,000. These are actually the directly attributable cost. So, how much will be recorded as intangible asset? So, dito, magkano nga ulit yung ating purchase price? Well, purchase price is equal to $10,000, no? Tama ba? Then, tanggalin natin yung discount. So, minus the discount. So, magkano ba yung discount natin? Well, sabi ng problem, that's 5%. So, $10,000 yan, times 5%. This is actually equal to how much? Well, calculator. We need calculator here. 10,000 times 5%. This is equal to $500. So, ibig sabihin, the net purchase price is magkano? The net purchase price in dollars will be equal to $9,500 ulit yan. So, multiply natin yan sa current exchange rate which is equal to 46 pesos. Magkano yung purchase price natin in peso? Purchase price in peso will be equal to 9,500 times 46, or this is equal to 437,000. Then, i-add lang natin dyan yung directly attributable cost na 25,000. Mako-compute na natin yung initial cost of the intangible asset, which is equal to how much? 437 plus 25,000, or this is equal to 462,000. So, problem number 1, 462,000 is our final answer. We good? Hopefully, we're good, no? Next, problem number 2, what's the requirement? How much is the total carrying amount of the capitalized intangible asset at year-end? So here, Pepper Company incurred the following expenditures on internally developed intangible assets. So first, we have internally generated goodwill. Once again, this is not capitalized because hindi po yan identifiable. Goodwill is an unidentifiable asset. And it can only be what? It can only be recognized if it came from a business combination. We cannot recognize an internally generated goodwill. Next, we have internally generated brand. Same thing, not recognized. Mastheads, ano nga ulit yan? Yan yung mga name ng isang newspaper. Hindi rin po yan recognized. Publishing titles, hindi rin. Customers list, mas lalo hindi. Lahat ng assets na to, or what? Are not identifiable. Ibig sabihin, hindi sila nag-comply sa definition ng intangible asset. Kailan lang natin sila pwedeng recognize as intangible asset? Kapag nabili sila or na-acquire sila in a business combination. But if these assets are internally generated, hindi mo sila pwedeng i-recognize. Next, Pepper Company incurred 100,000 additional cost in maintaining the customer's list. Then, Pepper Company treated all intangible asset as with indefinite useful life. So, kung tinatanong tayo kung magkano yung total carrying amount, obviously, our final answer here will be equal to 0. We good? Now, punta tayo sa problem number 3, no? Problem number 3, Pepper Company was granted a patent on January 1, 2021. The patent was appropriately recognized at 800,000 and estimated to have a useful life of 10 years. On January 1, 2023, Pepper Company incurred 100,000 in successfully defending the patent in an infringement suit. So, see to it that whether a successful or unsuccessful, this legal cost is what? Is treated as an expense. Nagkakaintindihan ba? So, requirement number 1, how much is the amortization expense for 2021? Then, requirement 2, how much is the amortization expense for the year 2023? So, here we just have to compute how much will be the annual amortization. No? So, annual amortization will be equal to 800,000. That's the cost because normally, intangible asset nga do not have what? Do not have any residual value. Unless, sabi ng problem na merong active market for this intangible asset at the end of its useful life. If that's the case, well, gagamit tayo ng residual value. Divided by the useful life of 10 years, so this will be equal to 80,000 pesos. So, requirement number 1, final answer is 80,000 pesos as well as in requirement number 2 because we will not capitalize this 100,000 because once again, this is treated as an expense. We good? So, ilang taon nang lumipas from January 1, 2021 to January 1, 2023 which is the requirement in number 3 because requirement number 3 is the carrying amount of the patent on December 31, 2023. That's actually a period of 3 years. Ibig sabihin, accumulated amortization now will be equal to the annual amortization of 80,000 times 3 years or this is equal to 240,000. So, carrying amount now will be equal to the cost of 800,000 minus the accumulated amortization which is equal to 240,000 and then apparently the carrying amount of the patent on December 31, 2023 will be equal to magkano? Will be equal to 560,000. So, requirement number 3, 560,000 is our final answer. Liwanag? So, this patent will be further discussed on our next video. No? Then, last will be problem number 4. Problem number 4, Pepper Company previously purchased for 4 million a trademark for a successful coffee drink it markets under the name of Copico. The trademark was determined to have an indefinite useful life, no? A competitor recently introduced a product that is in direct competition with the Copico product, thus suggesting the need for an impairment assessment. Data gathered by Pepper suggests that useful life of the trademark is still indefinite, but the net cash flows generated by the trademark have been reduced to either 150,000 annually with a probability of 80% and 300,000 with a probability of 20%. The appropriately risk-free interest rate is 6%. So determine the amount of impairment loss, if any, on the trademark. So as discussed a while ago, kapag indefinite yung life ng intangible asset natin, its value in use will be equal to the expected future cash flows, divided by what? Divided by the discount rate given in the problem, no? Well, here, yung expected future cash flows natin, dalawang amount. Possible daw na 150,000 and then it is possible na 300,000. So, anong gagawin natin, sir? Well, i-multiply mo lang yan sa corresponding probability nila, no? Then get the sum, then yun na yung expected future cash flows natin. Because future cash flows, since sa future pa yan mangyayari, these cash flows are just estimate, no? Because wala naman nakakaalam kung magkano talaga ang marireceive natin sa future. So, 150,000 times 8%, this is actually equal to 120,000. And then 300,000 times 20%, this is equal to 60,000. Then adding these two will give us a total of 180,000. No? So, value in use now will be equal to 180,000 divided by the 6% discount rate, or magkano po yan? 180,000 divided by 3%. This is actually equal to 6 million pesos, no? Walang fair value less cost to sell na given sa problem. So since walang fair value less cost to sell na given sa problem, etong value in use na yan na rin po yung what? Yan na rin yung gagamitin po natin as what? Gagamitin natin as recoverable amount. Liwanag? So what's the requirement here? The requirement is to determine the amount of impairment loss, if any, on the trademark. So paano nga ulit tayo mag-compute ng impairment loss? Well, i-compare mo muna yung carrying amount at yung recoverable amount natin. Well, here, carrying amount is magkano? Our carrying amount is 4 million pesos. Then, recoverable amount is equal to 6 million pesos. Again, 180,000 divided by 0.06. Joke lang, 3 million lang pala to. Sorry na, my bad. It's my bad. This is equal to 3 million pesos. So, recoverable amount is equal to 3 million pesos. So, obviously, carrying amount is higher, no? So, 4 million versus 3 million, the difference is actually equal to 1 million. And sabi nga natin, if the carrying amount is higher, this 1 million pesos will be treated as what? Will be treated as impairment loss. So, problem number 4, 1 million pesos now is our final answer. So, that's the end of this video. Hopefully, marami kang natutunan sa video na to. See you guys sa part 2 ng intangible assets natin, wherein i-discuss natin doon yung specific intangible assets, including research and development. So, for now, always take care guys and God bless. Bye-bye!